Good morning, everybody. We're going to talk today about market domination. How do you dominate a local market? We're going to talk about farming. We're going to talk about how to farm, how to really do this thing and win and actually get listings and go out there and put your name as one of the experts within an area. There's a lot of work that needs to be done if you want to dominate a market. You definitely need to be committed. You have to be focused. You have to go the extra mile. So when you do farming, when you're trying to dominate a market, you got to do a lot of activities, and it's a full commitment. I always tell people who ask me, Ran, should I send out a just listed postcard? My answer is always, if you're not going to continue and sending postcards within an area, it defeats the purpose. So you got to make a full commitment, and we're going to talk about some minimum numbers, because if you do that, if you're not doing enough, then you're not going to get the results you want to get. It takes time. And it takes volume. And the bigger the volume, the more the return. Return on investments, I actually recorded a video last week with Elvis. Return on investment on one particular mailing was over 3,000%, which means if you're spending $100, you can make $3,000. Okay, if you spend 1,000, you can make 30 grand. That's really what it's all about. You need to understand the power of consistency. The problem that I'm having with this thing is that most real estate agents are not consistent. So in order for you guys to be consistent and to be successful with doing this particular thing we're talking about right now, I need to make sure that you guys are capable of being consistent, that you're capable of doing something for a long period, making a commitment for a long period of time, and then actually doing what needs to be done. Let's begin. So we got the geographical farming that we're talking about. Top producers understand that geofarming done right is going to help them dominate a market. First thing you got to do, you have to create a budget specifically for farming. So when you close deals, we spoke about it before, when you close, you got to set aside some money for taxes, set aside some money for marketing, So when you set aside money for marketing, that has to be budgeted as well for farming. And if you're also doing, for example, Facebook targeted ads in addition to what we're going to talk about over here, then it's super powerful. And then you want to use farming to increase repeat and referral, because you keep hitting the same houses over and over and over and over and over and over. So they become your advocates when you do the right job and you are providing content and providing information and data and free data, and you're doing a lot of free stuff. You can then get a lot of fans out there that would obviously increase your business by sending you repeat and referral business. Another thing you got to do is you got to create the actual system and the tools for farming. You also need to hire people to operate these systems. That's later on. Right now, you should be doing most of it unless you are past 25 deals a year by yourself. Then you need help. And the help that we always recommend is start with a VA. Why farming? We call it farming for a reason. Farming is planting seeds in the ground, watering the seeds on a regular basis and consistently. It's also a commitment we take to invest ourselves in something worthwhile for a long period of time. And when you do a farm, if you go study farming, you can Google that. Like real farming, first you have to work the ground. Then you need to prepare the ground. After you prepare the ground, you need to water the ground. After you water the ground, you got to plant the seeds, and then you got to water again, and then you have to wait, and then you have to water again and take care of it and make sure that there's no weeds coming in. And I mean, it takes constant awareness, focus, and a consistent action. And it's the same here. It's exactly the same here. So the seeds are the obvious contacts. You see, if you're talking about postcards, or if we're talking about contacting by phone, door knocking, sending any type of mail, and then purchasing a list within an area and start building a real database, meaning you're contacting these people, you're offering them something for free, you take their email address, and then you start sending them emails as well. So obviously, you can see that farming takes dedication. It's a full commitment. It takes determination. It takes consistency, persistency, and the stamina to keep going when the going is hard. I met many agents that were doing some non-consistent mailing, and they did not get results, and then they made complaints about the system. But the system calls for sending mail every 3 weeks. The system calls for contacting your database at least once in every 3 months. So if you have 750 people in a farm, that means that you need to contact 250 people every single month, which means once a quarter, you get in contact with them. And then you're sending them 2 times a year a CMA on their homes. It's a lot of work, I'm telling you. It's a real commitment. And it takes time. But once you hit momentum, when you start getting phone calls, when you start going out there, when people start calling you and saying, hey, I just got your CMA, and me and my wife were actually talking about the possibility of selling, and we like the price you sent us, please call us, let's talk. You should be getting a lot of these calls if, it's a big if, you're going to do everything that we're going to talk about. So when the seeds turn into trees, the trees consistently produce fruits. If the seeds turn into trees. For some people they do, for some people they don't. Which farm doesn't turn seeds into trees? The farm that doesn't have enough sun, the farm that doesn't have enough seeds, the farm that doesn't have enough water, and nobody's taking care of it. Farming the right way will secure your financial future. Because if you're doing, for example, 1,000 pieces, and you do all the prospecting, and you do all the emails, and you do everything that we do with inside the farm, and you're doing it consistently for 18 months, you're going to start turning for you. You're going to make between 2 to 5% ratio, depending on how aggressive you are with your approach. 2 to 5% means 20 to 50 listings on 1,000 homes. These are the numbers. When you dominate a local market, in your local community, people start calling you. And obviously your consistency is creating some vibe and some momentum to receive referrals from local sellers and buyers. You're going to start getting phone calls. So what you want to do is, I always say, let's go after the business. We're not waiting for the business to come to us. We go after it. But we're not going to do that forever, like going after the business. At one point in your career, you want to start making incoming leads to exceed your efforts of actually going out there and trying to achieve it. So until that time, starts, and you're going to feel when it's happening to you, you're going to feel it. Until it's happening, you're going to go after. So you need to pursue, you need to take action. You need to be the one going after. It's like chasing. And then at one point it starts turning. And when it starts turning, you're going to start getting 10% of your efforts is actually coming in with no effort. And then 20% is coming in with no effort. And then you're going to reach a point where 50% of your listings are coming in from incoming calls. People in your farm who know you, how do they know you? Because you've been calling them, you've been sending them email, you've been sending them postcards, you've been door knocking, they know you. Therefore, they contact you. And you keep giving them free information. You keep educating them about the market. So if you're going to go into any farm, 1,000 home farm, 2,000 home, 5,000 home, and you're going to start servicing like we should, what does the servicing mean? It means that you're going to send these people at least 2 CMAs a year. Like every 6 months, you send them a CMA. Hey, just wanted to let you know, here's what your home is worth right now. So you got to plan ahead. We're talking about 1,000 or 2,000 or 5,000 or 10,000, depending on how many pieces you're going to do. So we're talking about, say, bare minimum is 1,000, by the way. So if you do 1,000 homes, you got to do 1,000 CMAs every 6 months. That's 2,000 CMAs a year. That's going to take some time. It's going to take some effort. So you're putting in your sweat equity. And then you need to send it to them. So if you don't have their email address, you got to mail it to them. That's going to cost more money. And then you got to hit them every 3 weeks with a postcard. Every 3 weeks, you're sending them a postcard. Okay? Every 3 weeks, you're sending them a postcard. And you can automate all that stuff. So if you're going to plan ahead, okay, you're going to plan every 3 weeks in the next 12 months, the next 18 months. Take a look at the next 18 months. You got every 3 weeks, you're sending out mail. Calculate the investment. Find out how you're going to finance this business investment. And you have to look at it like a business investment. And remember, here's another challenge that for whatever reason I keep facing when I'm coaching agents. For some reason, real estate agents don't get it that they are business owners. They're not workers in a company. They're actually they're on 1099, independent contractors. Independent contractors are freelancers, which means you own your own business, which means you have to invest money in your business. You have to invest money to grow your business. So there's two ways to grow your business. There is sweat equity and there is real equity. You're putting in real money into marketing, branding. But at the beginning stage, like the first 18 months, there has to be a lot of effort, like a lot of sweat equity with a lot of equity money that you're investing. And then within 18 months, you're going to probably pay back the 18 months. So I calculated with Elvis last week, and it showed that one listing, when it's closing, will pay for 2 years of postcards, roughly. And that's what we're talking about here. 18 months of nonstop, every 3 weeks, you're hitting them with something. Guys and girls, when you do this system, it's going to work. Here's the message. If you cannot commit to do 18 months of every 3 weeks sending out a postcard, don't start. What are we talking about here? If you do 1,000 postcards based on, if we go now to Vistaprint, it's probably going to cost you about $650 to send out 1,000 postcards. So you're talking about $650 every 3 weeks. All right, so what is that? 16 times a year? Got 52 weeks, right? Divided by 3, you got 17. So you got 17 times a year times 650. You're looking at about 11 grand. So you need to spend about 11 grand every year, which is really, if you think about that, 11 grand, you're doing 1,000 homes. So if you turn even 2%, is 20 listings. 20 listings with an average, you do your average commission. I don't know what's your average commission. I take your average commission, okay, which is what, let's say 2.5% of a deal. So if a house is in your area is 250, take 2.5% of 250. So it's 250, you're talking 2,500 times 2.5. We're talking around roughly what, 6,700, 7,000 say. So you take 7 grand, and you can turn into 20, 7 grand times 20 is 140,000, and you're spending 11,000. So that's what I want you guys to understand. Yes, you invest money in your business. How do you do that? You find a way to do that because you have a business. And if you really want to move your business forward, you need a full commitment. Look, you can start without farming, and that's what I teach you guys. I teach people that are broke to start making money in real estate. And once they start making money in real estate, they start also putting some money aside and investing, putting it back into the business. Instead of going and paying bills and debts and stuff, you use the money to reinvest in your business, to grow what you're doing. And it's a snowball. Once it gets big, it gets big. You don't go back. And that's what I'm trying to say. It takes 18 months to get momentum within an area. You got to send mail every 3 weeks. And then you have to call people every quarter, have a conversation over the phone, try to get everybody's email, send them regular email. We're talking about once a week email. Connect with these people also social media. If you purchase the list of 1,000 people in your neighborhood, you can also target this specific list on Facebook. And then go after these people on Facebook. Let them see you also on Facebook. So then you got to spend some money on Facebook. And if you really want to get some results, good results, we're talking about, there's many different ways of advertising on Facebook. That's a whole session by itself. All right. How do you do farming the right way? First of all, you got to choose your area. What are you going to farm? You can't change your farm. So choose a farm that you are willing to stick to for at least 18 months. And then you obviously going to Google the map and print it out. And you want to use that for, mail out campaigns, door knocking and stuff like that. Now, COVID obviously is not allowing to do door knocking, but Hopefully we're going to put COVID behind us within a couple of months, and we can go back to a normal, behavior. You got to make a decision to follow a farming business plan, like a real marketing plan. Every 3 weeks, I'm sending, this postcard. And then a couple times a year, I'm going to mix these postcards with, holiday postcards. Labor Day, Christmas, New Year's, whatever. You look at the map, you look at the calendar, and then you're building your plan of business cards. You don't want to sit every 3 weeks and redo your postcard because it's going to take you too long. So the ideal is to actually hire someone else to do that for you. So you hire a VA, couple hours a week. You tell them, here's what you need to do for me every 3 weeks. I need you to take care of that for me. Design one postcard, or you can design. What I'm suggesting is design one postcard, run with it for a couple of months. If you're not getting any returns, change it, change the headline, change what you write inside, change the graphs, tweak a little bit, and then continue. I know a guy in Manhattan that was doing postcards, and then until he reached one postcard that gave him a lot of return, like he got more of return, like he got a lot more phone calls from one postcard than he got from all the rest of his mailings. So what he did, he decided to stick to that postcard and continue to do that. He's doing the same card for like 10 years, same postcard, getting him freaking unbelievable results, because now he's doing like 25,000 postcards every month. He started with 1,000, by the way, didn't start with 25,000. The thing is, if you keep making money and you're making 1,000, 2,000, 3,000% on every dollar you're investing in these mailouts, why not reinvesting it back in and grow? Which is what most people don't do. Most people take the money, go waste it, buy a car, move to a better neighborhood, buy clothes for everybody, do all this crap. A smart business person puts the money back in his business, continue to grow until he gets to a certain place that is, the income is like 10 times, 20 times. And at that time, you can do whatever you want. So you want to make a decision to follow a farming business plan, and then you want to hold yourself accountable to follow the plan. Again, another problem with our industry, people don't want to be held accountable. They don't want anybody to hold them accountable, and they don't hold themselves accountable. Therefore, they fall off the plan every 2 weeks. Execute the plan by taking action. Make a commitment to work consistently 6 days a week for 2 to 3 years. I tell this to every single person coming into our industry. If you're a brand new licensee, or if you just suck at real estate, you do 2 transactions a year, 4 or 5 transactions a year. That, it's not enough, obviously. So if you're doing 5 deals or less, which is 80% of all the agents out there, 80% of the agents are closing 5 or less transactions a year. If you're in that bracket, you got to make a commitment now for 2 to 3 years and follow the plan. Otherwise, what are you doing? Now, you want to set aside money from each closing and budget your farming expenses to suit your ability and grow as you go along. So you grow as you go along. You don't have to start with 5,000 homes. If you don't have the money to start 1,000, should you start 500? Yes. But if someone asks me, so Ran, I can start 500? No, it's better if you do 750. So what is the real minimum here? There has to be a real minimum, because at a certain volume, if you're not hitting a certain volume, you're not getting the return. The return takes longer. It takes longer to actually get it back. The more postcards you do, the faster it is to get it back. That's just the way it is. The more postcards you do, the faster you're going to get something. So the minimum that I suggest is 1,000. If you really cannot do it, you can do 750. And I always tell you guys, you can hook up with a mortgage broker and let them pay half. If you have cash issues, hook up with a mortgage broker, let them finance half. You have to think about it like social media as an example. If you're going to post, so if you look at the wall in your Facebook, like look at the feed and tell me which posts are getting the most likes and the most shares. And try to see something about those messages that keep getting all these likes and then try to use the same idea on a postcard. Read the right books on marketing, read books on branding, spend time studying it. I just purchased 8 books 2 weeks ago, 8 books about marketing and branding. And that's what I'm doing all day long. I just read all that stuff and then I put it in action. I don't ask anybody, hey, what do you write on your postcards? I can Google and probably within half an hour find the best book about that subject and purchase the book and read it. So don't get lazy. It's a business. And that's what I'm trying to say. We go back to step number 1 and step number 2 of this program, talking about you actually owning a business, running it like a business, having an expense account, having separate banks accounts, promote your brand and services. So phone prospecting, it's always going to be connected to what we're teaching. Prospecting, 2 forms of prospecting, phone prospecting and door knocking. COVID-19, you cannot, I understand, don't door knock. Make phone calls. It has to be connected. It's not just postcards. Just postcards by themselves, it's not going to work. Just calling is going to work better than just postcards, but with postcards, it's going to be a completely, like a whole new game. It's a whole new game when you call people and they're getting your postcard every 3 weeks. And they also see you when they go to Facebook. It's a whole new game. So when you're mailing out, we're talking about newsletters, you're talking about flyers. Every 6 months, you do a free CMA and you're sending it to them. Can you imagine you own a house and then you're getting in the mail a package, you open it and you see a CMA, a complete CMA of your house and how much it's worth, and you're getting it every 6 months for one agent. When it's time to sell your home, are you going to call this agent or are you going to call someone else? Are you going to call your cousin or are you going to call this expert that gives you a full CMA every 6 months? And then you can do local events, find out in the local library and city website, go to local events and prospect. You can volunteer for the fire department, volunteer in the school, house of worship, hospitals. You can do a lot of that stuff to mingle and to get to know the right people in your neighborhood. They need to know who you are and they need to get something from you on a consistent basis for free. Value, something valuable for free every couple of months. You make donations. There are plenty of local donation events, charity events. You can make donations so people know you, they see your name, they understand who you are. And then obviously building relationships with local leaders, teachers, influencers. You can go to City Hall, get to know the building inspector, the fire department. I mean, there's so many different things you can do. I see real estate agents join our industry and then they just sit at home waiting for something to happen. Okay, another thing you can do is visit house of worship, go to church, synagogues, visiting local hospitals, building relationships at City Hall. We spoke about all that stuff. Build a Facebook community page. That one is very, very powerful. You can build a Facebook community page and create, and you can go visit local restaurants and say, hey, the restaurants of the week. Every week you go to a new restaurant on your list and you're going and you're interviewing the business owner. And then you're creating a short video of that and you post it on your Facebook community page. You go to local schools, you talk to teachers, you put it on your Facebook community page. Anything that happens inside your community, you put it on your Facebook community page. You can also do the same with a YouTube channel. So it's a YouTube channel for or about the community. And you keep feeding it with content. Keep going out there, create content for that and put it out there. Visit local businesses, I said, restaurants, nail salons, banks, etc. Build a local community blog. So that's another thing you can do. And by the way, if you're posting something on Facebook, you have a video that you created in the restaurant. You can put the video on YouTube, put it on Facebook, put it on your blog, and then you can actually extract the video content as written content and then post that on your blog. You can also write articles about the town, local community, school system, transportation, entertainment, all that stuff. So you really want, you see where I'm going with that. You become the expert and you put all eyes on you. It has to be all eyes on you. That's what it's all about. All eyes on you. And then you got to perform. Like, you really need to know what you're talking about. You really need to know what you're doing. And by doing that, by like, just if you just take this page that I showed you here and you execute it like on a regular basis, aggressively, not like, oh yeah, once in a while you go, you meet someone, that never works. We're talking about massive amounts of activities. So if you're actually prospecting, and God's willing, you can do door knocking soon, and you do mail outs, you do postcards, flyers, newsletters, you're sending out CMA every 6 months, you reach out by phone every 3 months, you go to local events, you volunteer, you make donations, you build relationships, you visit house of worship, you go to hospitals, you build a Facebook community page, a YouTube channel. If you do all that stuff and you're still not getting sales leads, I'm stepping out of the game for you. I have no idea what to say. But if you're doing what I'm telling you right now, which is the system, and you're sending it, like, you have to listen, every 3 weeks postcard. So now I'm doing a coaching call with one of my clients. Hey, Ron, the postcards are not really working. Okay, no problem. Let's open up your number tracker. Let's see what you're doing. And then we found out that he's doing a postcard every 9 weeks. Where does it say in the system to send out postcards every 9 weeks? Well, I didn't really have the money, and I didn't do that. Okay, so you're not doing my system. You're doing whatever. You're doing some other system. Every 9 weeks mailing out is not what we teach. We say every 3 weeks, and if you don't have enough money for 18 months, don't start. That's what we say. And you got to find the way to finance that thing, because it is your life, your business life depends on it. Your business life depends on it. So you got to find ways to do it, make it happen. Okay, after you pick a farm and you want to cover the area with face-to-face contacts every 60 days, 90 days, if you make 20 face-to-face contacts, okay, via door knocking 5 days a week, you will make 400 contacts per month, which is over 800. You're talking about over 1,000 every quarter. At 5% success ratio, you could sell over 40 homes in your farm annually. Bear in mind, it takes about 2 years to cash in on your time investment. I gotta highlight this thing, because people coming back to me before they actually complete the time. Oh, listen, Ron, I've been doing it for 3 months now and I'm not getting anything back, so I think I'm gonna stop sending out mail. Okay, where were you when we talked about 18 months commitment? All right, play the numbers game. When you door knock, you want to make notice of the 10% nicest, easiest people to talk to in the neighborhood. These are your contact connectors. They will connect you with other people. In addition to face-to-face contacts, make sure you send a mailer. We spoke about this. On tax records, you will find some of the numbers in your farm, but you don't need to do that. You just need to use like a company like RedX as an example. If possible, invest in purchasing an owner's contact list. We spoke about that. Visit every for sale by owner in your area. That's very important. Visit them. So we speak a lot about for sale by owners, what needs to be said, how do you call them, or how to handle the phone call and all that stuff, how to do follow-up. But in addition, if it's in your farm, you owe it to your business to go and visit. And when you go visit, you give them something of value for free, okay? Visit every expired the day of. It doesn't say visit every expired whenever you feel like it. It says visit every expired the day of. The day of what? The day it expired. Go there to the door. It's not relisted. So you can actually go and talk to the owner. There's no problem. Door knocking is the best way to do that. Preview every listing in your farm. Keep your eye on the daily update sheet. That should be obvious to you already. And this is a daily activity you got to do. All right, next. Offer a free home evaluation. We spoke. This study will give the homeowner an accurate market value. Okay, this home evaluation will help you get listings appointments and find those that are thinking about selling right now and in the near future. We spoke about that as well. These reports will separate you, yes. Creating reports will also help you master the value in your farm. That's a good one. So when you actually do those CMAs, when you create the CMA, you do the homework, you do the legwork. You're not just sending them out of the blue stuff. You're doing a research on the house. And then you keep that research because you're going to send them every 6 months, right? So you need to know the house, the details. You're not going to call them every 6 months. Hey, I was calling you because I didn't really keep my notes. And I was wondering, how many bedrooms do you have again? Yeah, that phone call is just killing your business right now. So when you talk to people, you make notes. Okay, 123 Main Street was a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 2,700 square feet. And it had a pool in the yard. Okay, good. Next time in 6 months, when you call them, when you need to do a CMA, you already know the house. And then you're creating reports. So if you create reports every 6 months to every house in your farm, guys and girls, you're going to know your market inside out. You will become a market expert just by doing farming. And you should. All right, make sure that you focus your efforts on making as many face-to-face contact as possible. Unfortunately, right now, it's not possible. Make sure you extend a favor to everyone you meet and offer them a free home evaluation. Be consistent and finish what you started. Okay, this one is very challenging in our industry. People are not consistent and they really don't finish what they started. And we're talking about more than 90% of the people that I know in the industry, and I know a lot of people. I got 17,500 real estate agents and brokers connections on my LinkedIn. 90% of them are not consistent. More than 90% of them are not consistent. I see it. You see them for 3 months and then you don't see them for 6 months on social. That means they're not consistent. Then you see them for 1 week and then you don't see them for 3 weeks. And then you see them for 2 weeks and then you don't see them for 6 months. See yourself already in possession of your dreams and goals. We're going to talk about that in a different session that I'm going to have. And I'm going to do a boot camp. It's a life coaching boot camp that will improve the way you are, like your inner core. If you're not consistent, you can become consistent. You can actually recognize and realize why you're not consistent. And then you will plug in an action plan to eliminate inconsistency in your life, and you'll make new commitments with ease and with happiness. So we're going to talk about that in the bootcamp. All right, make sure you door knock every door and all that stuff. Look, a huge part of farming is door knocking, is a huge part. COVID-19 is restricting us. We can't really go out there and door knock. So I would guesstimate that by the end of the year, we should be able to go back to business as normal, and hopefully you can execute door knocking. Door knocking has a lot of power, especially in farming. Like, I'm talking a lot of power in door knocking because people get to see you face to face. It's different when you call someone or when you actually, go to their house, especially when you go to the house and you give them something of value for free. That creates a very dramatic incident in their lives. Like, so I remember this woman, she came to my house, she gave me this thing. Yeah, I remember who she is. Versus, well, yeah, someone called me, but I don't really remember who they were. It's very different. But unfortunately, we can't do it right now. It is part of the system, by the way. Door knocking is a huge part of my farming system. Can we do that without? Yes. Can we get the same results? No, but we can get good results without it. So prospecting these people, calling them on the phone, targeting them on Facebook, targeted ads with a list. We're talking about a targeted list, 1,000 people living in this neighborhood. I want them to see my post, and then you put $100 on it. And you want to do that like weekly, with different ads, and see the results. You got to make a commitment. It's not just equity, sweat equity commitment. It's actual business commitment, financial commitment, which will pay you a lot of money in return. We're talking about a lot of money in return. Now, if you're doing, I want to just summarize this I want to do it the right way, because I want to make sure that all of you really get it. We're not winging anything here. Everything is systemized. And these numbers are working. When I'm handing this system to you, this is what I did. This is what endless amount of top producers all across the country, that's what they're doing, guys and girls. They're not doing anything else, but they are very consistent. They're very consistent. They understand the power of farming. It has a lot of power. Now, I suggest you to choose the right farm. I suggest you to make a commitment for a minimum of 18 months. I suggest you to call these people and get a hold of each and every one of these people on your list at least once a quarter. I suggest you to send postcards every 3 weeks on the dot to all these people. And I suggest you to send them a CMA once every 6 months. And then once it's available again and possible, door knocking will become your main activity. So if you're looking around November, December of this year, it's already cold. Somewhere around, it's too cold to door knock. I understand it's too cold to door knock, but if I got to pay the bills, I'm going to do whatever it takes. But that's me. That's me. That's how I behave. And I'm assuming that people are going to behave the same way that I am. And that's a mistake that I always make. I always make this mistake because people are not behaving like I do. It's just, I'm a driver and I naturally drive. I can't just be sitting down and waiting for something to happen. I got to go out there and I need to make it happen. And that's what drivers are doing. If your drive is very low and you need someone to inject you with a drive all the time on a constant basis, get a coach. That's what the coach is doing. And maybe a coach once a month is not enough. Maybe you need it twice a month. Maybe you need it 4 times a month. Maybe you need it weekly. I don't know. So let's open up the microphone now for questions about this session.
I have a question. I was watching a video from Tom Ferry yesterday, actually talking about geographic farming. And one of the things that he was referring to was how to pick the neighborhood or the farm. How do you recommend that a person pick a farm?
What did he recommend?
He was talking about communities that had a 6% or more turnover rate, I guess, in people moving and sales. But he also was, at the same time, giving more aggressive numbers for campaigning. Like, for example, you mentioned a mailer every 3 weeks, but he was saying for the first 3 months, do 3 pieces a month. And then after those 3 months, do 2 pieces a month, which is still more than every 3 weeks. So I don't know then what, where the in-between lies or what you recommend.
The more mailers you do, the better they respond.
No, so clearly.
I can tell you that right off the bat. The more mailers you do, the better they respond. If you can start the first 3 months doing it 3 times a month, absolutely do it. Mm-hmm. But you also have to plug in phone calls. You also have to plug in social media. You also have to plug in. It's not just one avenue. You're attacking from different angles. Mm-hmm. And about choosing your market, I think you should choose a market you like to work in, number one. Number two, anywhere in your market right now, it's hot. If you go to two to four families, it's freaking insanely hot. Like every house is being sold at a bidding war. Still, 3-4 months into COVID, we're still booming. So that's a good market. Another good market can be, for me, look, I'm not going to spend myself. Everybody has their own preference. You got to think about how much money do you want to make per deal. You have to think about this. How much money do I want to make per deal? Do I want to make $2,000 per deal? Do I want to make $20,000 per deal? Now you got to think about it. And then you got to search the areas that will give you what you want. So if you don't want to work for $5,000 on a deal and you want to work for $10,000 on a deal, you got to double your price range, which means you got to go from a neighborhood of 200 to a neighborhood of 400. But you got to make sure that the neighborhood of 400 is turning 6% or 10%. Even 5% is good if the neighborhood is a big neighborhood. Depends on how many homes are in this particular farm.
How did you?
You should also do your homework and find out who are your competitors within a farm. Because if I'm going to go to a 6% turnover, and then there is a big player there who takes, I don't know, 30% of the market, that's going to be pretty hard to compete with. And if this person is doing it for years already, then I have to go in like really aggressive into the area, and I need to bring some money with me. I can't just go in, broke. You got to make the monetary commitment. So I hope that I answer your question. The main question was, how do you choose an area? First of all, you need to work in an area that you like. Like I was working in neighborhoods that I didn't like at the beginning of my career. I just did it because I had to do it. So I really didn't like it. And what it caused me to feel after some time is that I hate my job. And then I started adding more neighborhoods. And as I added more neighborhoods, I started feeling differently about my career. I started liking it again because I was working in a better neighborhood. I was working in an area that I wanted to live in. So you can actually choose an area like that has all the specifications. So there's nobody is really dominating it like, like 40, 50, 60% of the market domination. That's like you're going against a concrete wall. Then you can choose a different market. There is really no real reason to do that because I looked at the maps, not too many people that dominate any markets in your area. So you can just, pick and choose which neighborhood you want to work in.